Okay. All right. I'm just going to roll with the overview and then we can get into anything specific. Okay. On January 9th, at approximately 3 o'clock in the morning, New Westminster Police Department officers were conducting patrols in the area of the 100 block of Columbia Street when they encountered a male apparently in distress laying on the ground. When officers approached the male, they noticed that he was suffering from gunshot wounds, and responding officers administered emergency first aid. The man was then transported to a local area hospital where they were receiving treatment. The New Westminster Police Forensic Identification Unit and major crime units were deployed, and our investigators are working to determine exactly what it was that happened. The incident caused the closure of Columbia Street for several hours while our investigators worked to process that scene. We'd like to thank the public for their patience during the closure, but we'd also like to ask for their assistance. If anyone had dash cam footage in the area of the 100 block of Columbia Street in the early morning hours of January 9th, our investigators would like to speak to you. Also, if anyone was in the area and saw anything they believed to be suspicious or that may be of interest to us, maybe they saw something, heard something, our detectives would like to hear from you. They can be reached at 604-529-2430.
What can you tell us about the vehicle that was towed away from that scene earlier this morning? It was under a tent and eventually around 8 o'clock it was picked up and towed away.
Our major crime unit detectives and forensic identification unit did process the scene at Columbia Street, and various pieces of evidence were gathered, and they're working right now to determine exactly what piece those played in the greater puzzle. So right now I can't say exactly how that fit in, but we're working to determine what all those pieces mean.
Okay. On my way down here I noticed temporary park right next to City Hall is all taped off. Can you tell us, is that in conjunction with this investigation?
Our investigators are working at multiple scenes right now. This is a dynamic investigation, and given we're in the early stages, we're working to determine exactly what those two locations mean and whether or not they're connected.
Is the suspicion at this point they are connected?
Our investigators that are working in the 100 block of Columbia for the initial response and the ones that are at Tipperary Park are investigating the same incident.
How many gunshot wounds did the man suffer, and what was his condition now, or is there any updates on where he's at?
When our officers located the man, he had suffered gunshot wounds. I don't specifically know how many, but thankfully our officers located that man, what we believe is shortly after the injuries occurred. So administering emergency first aid was crucial to that man's condition. I don't have an update as to what that person's condition is right now.
Were there calls about residents nearby hearing that gunshots were being fired?
I'm not aware of any calls to police, but we are thankful that our officers were in the area and able to locate that individual very quickly.
Do we know if the car that was parked outside of the building belongs to him?
I'm not aware of any vehicles being connected to anyone, but our officers did process the scene outside the 100 block of Columbia, where a number of pieces of evidence were processed. So being in the early stages of the investigation, we're just working to determine what exactly those mean and how they fit in.
So then there's no confirmation that the fellow that was shot was actually from the vehicle that was being processed? He wasn't in that vehicle necessarily?
Our officers located a man laying on the ground when, sorry, let me take that again, Teresa, sorry. Our officers initially located a man laying on the ground. There are other elements to that scene that we're working to determine exactly how they fit together in this.
Fire services was also called and addressed the scene. They were seemingly like brushing off something off the floor. Like, was it blood? Like, were there other materials and falls, and what officers found last night or early morning?
We often work with New West Fire and Rescue Services when it comes to medical events. So it's possible, I don't know specifically why fire was called, but in general terms, New West Fire does respond to assist us with medical events, so it's possible they attended in order to help us treat the victim.
There's a fairly long stretch between 4th Street and McBride. Can you tell us where the victim was found? Like more narrowing that down, was he close to the park or the residential building or?
I'm not exactly sure where the victim was found. The officer was driving in the 100 block of Columbia Street, and that's when they noticed the man. So I don't exactly know where they were in relation to where they found them.
Was he known to police?
Right now, the victim's recovering from their injuries, so I'm not able to share anything regarding their condition or whether or not they're known to us.
You don't know if this was a random attack or targeted?
Being in the early stages, our officers are working to determine exactly what the circumstances are and who's involved, and ultimately to determine why this happened.
You mentioned wanting dash cam footage if anybody was in that area in the early morning hours. Do you sort of have a time frame of when you would be looking for that?
We'd like dash cam footage. I say early morning hours because that can be a span. Being so early on in this investigation, we know we found the male at approximately 3 o'clock in the morning, but we don't know what happened before that. So anytime before that, perhaps that might trigger someone's memory of an event they may have the time thought was insignificant, but may be relevant to us. So I wouldn't put a specific time on it, but early morning, if you're driving in New Westminster along Columbia Street in the 100 block, we'd like to hear from you.
Anybody else? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank
Okay.
you very much.